Bear with me.
Hello, while waiting for Judith to come back, Judith, I think those are some of the technical issues of Africa, and that is why we just have to work hard as an African country, while the digital life is working so well in the West. We are having all manner of issues in Sub-Sahara, because we have leaders who will not innovate, who will depend on people, you understand, to develop their nations for them. I hope we will get through the lacuna one day. Judith, are you back?
Yes, my dear. Sorry for this inconvenience. I'm having a lot of technical issues here as well. So apologies, but I think we should be good now. Yes, so let me kindly progress. As I formally said, today I'll be talking about smart innovations and other emerging issues in mining. And by introduction, I would love to say, why is it important to have systems in place? So I'll share my screen. If you can allow me share screen, then I can do that. Kindly the host, if you can enable, so I can be able to share screen for some tips here that I'll be sharing today. Okay, I think the host has disabled the screen sharing. Hello?
Host.
Yeah.
Host, can you give, yeah. Are you okay now?
Let me try again. No, it's still disabled. Anyway, let me just progress so I don't take the time for somebody next.
No, I will get.
Okay.
Yeah, try again.
Is it ready? Okay, let me go back and share. Oh. Okay. Is it that is coming back here on top? Have you enabled the share screen? I'm getting two Zooms here, and I think it's
yeah, you can
more.
try again.
Let me just allow me get in, leave, and then come back again, because I don't know what is happening. So sorry. The option of share screen now is here. Let me see if we can manage. Do you get to see it?
Yes, yes, we are seeing your screen, yeah?
Okay, okay. So I think I didn't see if the host has already done that. So let me just put. Yes, so as formally I was introducing that today I'll be doing the smart innovations in mining, and only one emerging issue, that is health and safety, especially for women in the mining on artisanal and small scale mining engagement. Yeah, so technically, oh, okay. Why? Yes, mining being highly advocated in Africa and globally at large, there are a lot of transformations which need to be put into consideration from the processing site to the final destinations. Yeah, we all know that people, miners now, they do mining, and we have a lot of advocacy on formalization of artisanal and small scale mining. But I think one of the biggest area that we need to make sure we are trying hard to put in place is to put the digital innovations in place in order to be able to formalize mining with all the operations going more digital, in order to be able to track fees, to track rent, to track all the income which is generated from the mining. So when we have these AI analytics services, we are getting ready and we are able to be able professionally to offer the services to all the people, including clients and those practitioners within the mining industry. And this really can bring a lot of digital transformation in Africa. That way we can be able to address a lot of challenges in the process and systems through proposing new ideas and innovations. So having ideas which we just keep writing without having any of the digital equipment or the softwares that can help us be able to track mine, do fees collection, it's leading a lot of loss. So I'll keep sharing as I keep going. Yeah, so whether you are an employee of the Ministry of Minerals, or I don't know how other agencies or governments call the ministries, or whether you are the practitioner from the ground like myself doing the mineral processing, you need to have and advise potential digital systems. So if you are the employee, you are the minister, you are the practitioner in one way or another, we need to do that in order to be able to reduce smuggling of minerals in Africa. Why are we proposing this is because we have seen a lot of games going on sometimes across the countries. People can be able to smuggle minerals from one country to the other, but having these digital innovations can be able really to help and support a lot in the system, so people can be able to track the origin of these minerals, where these minerals coming from, where the final destinations. So this way you can be able to track all the royalties and try to reduce as much the waste of revenues that the government was supposed to get, but as well trying to reduce the waste of time and the resources. This including having many people to work manually. For example, you need a permit, you need to have somebody to help you, but if you had a software in your phone, you could just actually click and then you get the processing or the any kind of a permit that is supposed to be taken at that particular time. So really, if you look at it, it's very beneficial having these systems in place. They can be able to help a lot of and improve a lot of mining practices, and especially for the artisanal and small scale mining, where now we are trying to advocate for formalization. If we engage this and try to ask for the government systems in place to engage other private sectors organizations who can be able to support the government with the innovations, then together we can be able to come up with something which can be beneficial for all of us in Africa. But as well as I was talking, if we need to have the right data, we need to have the right systems. When we say we are getting the rental fees for maybe 200 prospecting licenses, you need to have systems. So I'm happy that my country has started practicing that. Is where I even actually got the guts to share, because I know we are trying that and I've been trying to apply for some of the things. So it's really good to have these systems. Then what are we addressing? When we are tracking minerals, we are reducing smuggling. As I earlier said, if you have a system which can help you to track that this production site was from Kenya, maybe from one province, and then it has been sold to Tanzania, and then this, it was on transition because it has not been sold, the system can be able to tell you. So that way, all the fees and things which we are supposed to be known ahead of time will just be really collected, and from there can be able to tell how much really is collected annually or monthly. So those are challenges which are getting, but we have a lot of management issues and bureaucracy going on. When you deal with an individual, it's different from how you deal with somebody with a system itself. A system won't make you longer unless there is an internet problem. Sorry to say, like the one we had a little bit, but if it's all safe, then you are safe on time. Sometimes human being can be bureaucratic in one way or another, and I'm not insisting that people who are working, they are bureaucratic on assisting us. I'm just trying to say, in order to reduce any form of things which can really make delay in the processes on mining, we need to have systems in place in order to reduce all these forms of bureaucracy that can make, in one way or another, processing being late because somebody has not provided the permits. the smelting, from the smelting to the marketplace, you need a permit. So this is very good, but now you need a system to guide you. So you can just reduce waiting for some someone is asking. We can't have so many people working because we are conscious of budgets at the offices. So that way people can be waiting, people can be waiting on queue to get the service. And this is really a challenge. So having these systems can be really useful. But also it helps a lot in monitoring and managing mining practitioners, including buyers, sellers. As well, I can also speak about people who can hijack and pretend like, oh, we are the buyers from Tanzania, from Uganda, because there is no system where anybody can just try to be in place. And we are not saying that the government systems are not functioning properly. We are just proposing for them to try out and have systems which will really help them track minerals from the production to the processing and selling locations. Yeah, so for the mine practitioners, we have people are allocated from different areas as the way we see the licenses being offered. So if someone is working from, let's say, a 40-kilometer area from where the location of smelting is supposed to be, then you have a lot of time delays because you need to have a permit before you move. That is from Tanzania point of view. I don't know for other areas if that is applicable, but either way, I just find merit in all the countries if they can adopt that system, because it will help reduce waiting for someone to help me. So for the practitioner, it's gonna be very useful because, for example, myself, if I do the mineral processing, I really wish to have something on time. Like if I need it today, and people are very faithful from the ministry, they will bring somebody on time to help you. But if you had a system working, there was no delay for 30, 40 minutes. It was just a 2 minutes thing. So inconvenient mode of fees collection as well. For us, we are happy because we pay on the system. And I'm arguing also for other countries to adopt the same, because you need to have a system in order to pay. And I think most of the countries are doing this because this is more now traditional practice. But now you need also to have system for collection of the softwares which will help doing the royalty collection, annual rent collection, and everything. But also, if you deal with unlicensed mining practitioners, you may have in the database, let's say 200 people who are having licenses, but there are a lot of people who would come in the system in places to go and operate without having proper licenses. How are you gonna track their minerals to understand if they were really coming from the licensed areas? The system could tell you, because as I formerly said, this artificial intelligence system really help the government people to understand the nature, because the dealer will be also registered in the system. From the production site, where did you go to sell? So the dealer being located in the system, you can be able to track easily and understand that this is where the mineral was getting sold. So with such an experience, then we need to develop these kind of systems. And I'm happy with Minerals Africa Development Institution, centered in Uganda. We have been able to develop a system that we are gonna put a test very soon. I'll be happy to share. We have tried to share in here practically can be able to be adopted by countries. So those two countries, we are trying to push hard to see if the technology can be adopted by the government authorities, so it can be part of the help to our government institution in tracking of minerals. But as well, it keeps people accountable. If you are in the system and you are the one who authorized the system permit, then nobody will say, no, I wasn't the one. Maybe somebody forged the signature when I was at the desk. So eventually the system will be able to tell exactly, just like how banks do. Because people at the bank, they can go and steal, but somebody can get to know whose password was used. So this is really the very same case with the mining and what we have been able to propose with our Minerals Africa Development Institution. And then lack of notifications on when annual rents and the other fees have expired. You wait at the post office to receive your letter telling you maybe your rent will be due after 10 or 15 days. It's not a bad idea, it's good. But as well, if you have a system, you have a software operating, you receive all those notifications like how we do with other phone companies and the rest. So as I was explaining everything, this is the repetition of what I formerly said on annual rent and why is it very important. I don't want to take much of your time listening to the repetition because it's all the same case. So maybe now I should go now to speak about the emerging issues. I'll briefly not share the slides because I've taken much time. But with these emerging issues, I will speak about health and safety of women in the mining areas, especially on the artisan and small scale mining. The first thing I would advise is to have the government agencies, authorities to try put in place policies by including when they are making policies, when they are formulating policies, to try to include people from the ground. You have artisan and small scale miners who are knowledgeable. For example, myself, I called myself artisanal because that is the level of operation I do. It's not that big. But if you come ask my views, I can say, you think the way I see about how operations are going, this is 1, 2, 3. So I could advise for the government authorities to try as much as possible to engage the really practitioners of mining at the ground while they are formulating policies regarding mining. But why did I insist on health and safety? It's because most of the time we see health and safety just going back home safely, but we don't create the necessary environment for somebody to understand this is also a health concern. So we need to know exactly kind of systems. For example, we have spoken about smart innovations. We can have systems in place to propose how can these local pits of miners, people, how can they go down and come up? One time I saw on LinkedIn, there was a guy who posted about the smart innovation. It wasn't on mining, it was just on a heavy industry operation. They had very nice form of the strings which tied their legs while they were climbing on the ladders. And I was like, this is something which people in mining can adopt from the artisan and small scale point of view. By that time, we can have added a lot of safety issues and advice accordingly. So that is one of the things which I would want. But as well, artisanal and small scale management strategies, whether from large scale mining operations point of views, they need to look about the surrounding communities. And the surrounding communities, most of them are artisan and small scale miners because they normally like to inherit what they are, they think it's always theirs. So they will be around the concessions or they'll be outside a few meters. So whatever the health practices which are being practiced inside the large scale mining, it's good for them to simplify and bring to the locals. Actually, we are not advocating for coexistence within the concession. We are saying for those formalized artisan and small scale miners who have the licenses to operate. So this way it can be. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. It was good to be part of the team. I'll be happy to share the software next time when we have tried and done the test already. And that way we can share the practicality of it and how it operates, because all the copyright issues will always already be in press, and see how other governments are taking that into consideration. Thank you so much for listening to the presentation.
Thank you, Judith, for your presentation. We are grateful and we are happy. Incidentally, you know, we are tensed knowing you have an outing today with the Honorable Minister. I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So I knew you had a meeting and I was tensed, you know, thinking you'll be able to attend. But just like we said, we are looking at ESG, smart innovations, and other emerging issues in the mining sector. You have discussed extensively on the smart innovations in the mining sector using artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence suddenly came up in the last couple of years, thank God for the various researches going on, and with a lot of data mining, where people have access to various kind of data. And they are now trying to look at how do they utilize this data, how do they map them and overlap them on one another, which gave birth to artificial intelligence in solving issues. In the mining sector, there are various types, and you have emphasized an aspect of it using artificial intelligence extensively in ASM, where you can use it to monitor virtually everything under the sun. Because once everything, computer says garbage in, garbage out. And even in the case of AI, he leaves nothing. Even the dots, are incorporated, are fed into the system. So everything can be tracked, from miners working on the field, illegal miners, because once and that is why organizations are being asked to formalize, that is, give them an identity. That's just simply what the formalization is talking about. Let's formalize them. Once you formalize them and you're on the field, so whatever you are doing can easily be accounted for. Likewise, the bureaucrats, likewise, the licensing, and some of these things, we wanted to hear your climb. I'm sure all your presentation and then the analytical, the information you have, we will try to share with everyone who is participating today in this workshop. We all know that once we have these things, especially for women, where the advantage comes up is you'll find that most women are exploited. They have all these gemstones, especially at hand, and people just come and buy it off them at cheap prices. But with AI, you will have a team you are working with definitely who will be able to guide you in some of these things. And so that makes it a lot easier. Just like you said, it will track smuggling, it will open up markets, it will increase networking. You're able to identify every mineral. When you go out to stores in developed countries, you find out that they'll tell you, this rubies is from Thailand, this one is from this. Likewise, we'll be able to actually pinpoint where our mineral resources are coming from. We'll be able to curb wastages of time. The amount of time, I remember one of our women from Lagos, she will travel all the way from Lagos to Abuja, not once, not twice, chasing the same document. These things are things that should be made easily accessible. The issue of licenses, because that is why you have the mining cadastre. That's the subject of another day. That's why I said we are talking, it's going to be a series, and we are going to run a series on ESG, because that's the latest. No investor will touch your mine. No investor will support any mining company. You understand? When you don't have the appropriate material, the appropriate elements in place, and those elements include environmental, social, and governance tools. So everything must be well positioned for you to be able to have support, because you must be rated. The ESG rating is very important, and you need the AI to be able to address some of that, that is artificial intelligence, to be able to address some of these issues. So for me, we want to say thank you, Judith. We look for, stand by for people to ask questions if there are questions before we move to Sierra Leone, to equally hear from Sierra Leone, because the beauty of today is that we don't want to be speaking to ourselves all the time. We want to be able to catch what is happening in other countries. And for ESG, we'll be looking at the ESG components extensively, because people will say, oh, we mentioned ESG, we didn't talk about the environmental issues, the safeguards, we didn't talk about the social safeguards, we didn't talk about the governance templates, and then the ratings, the MSCI, the FTSE and all those things. Those ones will come, you understand, in subsequent lectures. But let's build up the foundation just like she did today, touching on the data, the analytics, you understand, is what she expanded today, and then we move forward. It's a monthly lecture. So the next lecture, you will equally see ESG come up as a major subject. Thank you again. If you have questions, Doris, I hope, Judith, I hope you are still standby.
Yes, I am. I'm here. Thank you so much, Engineer.
Anybody with any question to ask? Yeah. Omojo, you can take over. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Judith. Thank you very much, Engineer Janet, for that wonderful presentation and a follow-up to that. So if you have any question or a comment, we can give you just 2 minutes for this so that we can have the second presentation very quickly. Or you can drop your questions on the chat box. Then when we're done, we can visit all the questions. Is that okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate Judith for that wonderful presentation. We are going straight into the second presentation. Is no other person but Mr. Daniel Gondo, all the way from Sierra Leone. Mr.
I had my hand raised, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see any hand here. Okay, we'll take the questions much later. Just drop it at the chat box if you wish. Thank you. Mr. Daniel is a mineral policy advisor at the Ministry of Mines and Mineral Resources in Sierra Leone. He is a barrister and a solicitor of the High Court in Sierra Leone and partner and head Mineral Sector Policy, Mineral Compliance and Community Affairs Department at Fauna Sesi, Communing Showers and Co, Freetown, Sierra Leone. Before his current role at the Ministry of Mines and Mineral Resources, Daniel served as Mineral Resource Management Advisor to the Chief of Staff in the Office of the President and Environmental and Social Performance Advisor to the Millennium Challenge Coordinator Unit, Office of the President in Sierra Leone. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Daniel Gbagbo for the second presentation. Mr. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much for the intro. Thank you very much for the intro, and good evening to everyone. I am really pleased to be on this. I'm really pleased to be at this on today, and I want to say thanks to Dr. Janet Adeyemi for giving me the invite and the platform to share our story about what efforts we're doing to improve mineral sector governance in Sierra Leone, with specific focus on gender parity. Unfortunately, I'll have to turn off the video because the internet bandwidth I'm using is very low. I was going to do this call from the Ministry of Mines, but I'm doing it in my chambers because there is power outage at the ministry building. The same old problems on the continent. And when I went to the ministry building and found there was no power, I said to myself, we're still struggling 60, 70 years after independence with basic infrastructure to support everything that we do, from education to health, to transport, to mining. If we cannot provide sustainable and reliable electricity in our capital cities, then I really don't know what Africa should again do, or whether we're really serious about economic growth on the continent. So I'll have to turn off the video even as we move into the presentation proper. The presentation is going to take two formats. First, we're going to view a short video that will lay the foundation for the rest of the PowerPoint presentation that I would do. It would speak to key highlights of the gender issues that we are still grappling with in Sierra Leone, and the responses that, or the interventions that government, civil society are making to deal with those challenges. So if we could, I don't know the technology, whether it is already up, if it can be streamed. It's a short video which Natural Resource Governance Institute did in Sierra Leone. It featured myself and other colleagues, past and present, that are still engaged in the sector. Let me see.
Mr. Daniel, should we play from here, or you want to play from your
Yes,
side?
from your end.
Okay, okay. He's not listening. There's audio.
Oh.
What we can hear. Is there audio?
For me, there is audio for me.
There's
Okay,
audio.
perfect.
Don't go sell, so they go sell, so then they cheat with it. But we now woman don't understand. No sabi about time better. I like sabi but we go sell. It's not get like. And now they feel for skill.
I don't know if I don't think this is the start of the clip. I really like, good. I think the start of the clip. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Could you please increase the volume a little bit? Sorry, there is no video at the moment. There is no audio.
At least the thing is that it has footnotes, so we can read, even if the video is not showing. I don't know what is happening, but we can read. So
okay.
That women suffered during the Civil War had to be addressed. And so the heightened awareness about the rights of women, political rights, economic rights, social rights, took root and has continued to grow.
The 50-50 group started in November of 2000 when we were ending the Civil War in Sierra Leone, and found out that when we had a democratic process after the war, women were not considered as such for governance and leadership. As the name implies, it's 50-50. So we're looking at parity and having women in leadership and public life and politics and where decisions are made. We have seen changes in some sectors, and we have seen some policies being made and some acts, sort of being reviewed and being ratified. But when it comes to the mining industry, we're still waiting.
Although we have a deputy minister as woman in the mines ministry, the Minerals Advisory Board has no woman at all. The National Minerals Agency has no woman on the board.
Having women in executive positions in mining companies in Sierra Leone is very few and far between. And I do hope that some of the companies are taking initiative, as we are in Sierra Rutile, taking initiative to enhance and improve on that. When I joined, I was the only female in EXCO, and now there are 4 of us in EXCO, so it's improving.
The 2009 Mines and Minerals Act did not really address gender issues, did not capture the critical role that women can play in governance and management of the mining sector.
The laws have to be stronger on gender. And that is why we are engaging the ministry and the Mines and Minerals Act review process, as well as all the reviews that are taking place in other ministries to ensure that gender is on board. Once that is done, we can then use those legislative provisions to advocate for effective implementation, even for government to allocate more resources, and to also urge the companies to create more gender policies in their corporations.
So these policies now create the framework within which we are reviewing our Mines and Minerals Act, and in many ways that will improve government's intervention and interaction with women.
Most of the land there, that the man they more getter, because they take and say na man get right some more for let him get land for himself. Oh, they can't work self. Who said the man they work, then they will kill it. So they wouldn't know work, they dirty, they wouldn't know work, like when they left that chap, then kill it.
That is currently being addressed at the Ministry of Lands through the National Land Policy and the National Land Law that would be enacted, where across the country we would have a unitary land system, which is a freehold land system, and not a land system that is characterized by cultural decades of cultural practices, where men are actually in control of land.
Like for who kika work so, who don't get that small thing. They try to get out get small thing for either for both side. The man and they use we. Then they use we. Then they sex with we not to wish. Then they go lay down between our bush. Because we want no more we survive. Then they lay down between our bush. Then get sexual abuse with we because we not get.
Sexual exploitation is a huge challenge. The government has really increased its intervention and its involvement to address that particular problem, ensuring that stiffer jail terms are handed down on convicts, but also preventing sexual offenses through constructive engagement with community people, with traditional leaders, with men themselves getting involved in the conversation on the radio, awareness raising.
When I talk about gender equality and space for women, I've been advocating to see how we can pass the Sexual Offences Amendment Act. I believe if there are good laws to protect women, then these women will not suffer sexual violence in mining communities.
My name is Esther Fidakane. So that name, in fact, signifies that I'm from Kono. I was born in Kono. So I saw a lot of things that are affecting the community in terms of mining. I'm here in Kono to do a training on leadership. And for us as an organization, it's very critical, it's very important for us. We want to see women taking the lead. We want to see women in all of these structures and giving the same training like the men so that they can understand the mining or the extractive sector as the men so that they can make adequate and very important contribution.
What I've learned from the training, I learned that as a leader, you must respect others people's view. As a leader, you must be a role model. As a leader, you must be transparent. So we want to tell our leaders in Sierra Leone and Kono, especially the mining area, they should be transparent.
How many women will benefit from this funding? I'm really doing all my best. Still, the document is under review. but I will do all my best to the level, even when it is being taken to Parliament. I will also try my best to ensure that what we said during those consultations is being factored in the review of the Mines and Mineral Act.
We have made a lot of position as to how women should benefit and even the decision-making processes. But we are here to see that document and see how much those concerns we are taking on board.
What needs to be done to achieve meaningful gender equality in Sierra Leone is the will. The laws are there. The policies are there. It's the will. If everyone is on board and wants to see more women in positions of authority, leadership positions, it can be done. It's the will from top down, bottom up.
So we want the government to help us, especially the mining policy they are about to review. So we want the government to help us that to say this percentage is for women, so that will be part of the law. So they can give this percentage to women in the mining area, so they can take care of their children and also themselves.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is the end of that clip. There are tons of policy issues that were highlighted in that clip. And this lays the foundation upon which, or the framework within which, we are developing our policies and making the reforms that we are doing right now. An analysis of this clip would show that women continue to have a very squeezed or limited space within which they can make decisions with regards mineral sector governance, participation in the sector. We see that there is sexual exploitation going on. We see that there is lack of access to land for women because our land administration or land tenure systems, as in many African countries, is male dominated, characterized by customary practice, which in many ways are controlled by men. And we all know in the mining sector that land is a critical resource. If women cannot have access to land, then it becomes problematic. Then they would not be operating on the equal as their male counterparts. So these are some of the issues which continue to bedevil the mining sector or mineral sector governance in Sierra Leone. And I believe it could also be, or other jurisdictions would be able to identify with these issues. So can I please have, I don't know how, really sorry, the technology here to share my screen so that we can have the, or if I can have my presentation, please, Doris.
So you can share.
I do have trouble sharing my screen, which is why I don't know if Doris can help.
Yeah, you can share, go ahead, sir.
And Doris share for him.
So you're permitted to share, you can share. Sir.
Let me see. Share screen. How do I share screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Let's go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I succeeded. Wow. Okay. That's okay. My presentation is going to look at emerging legislation needed to drive inclusion and diversity to grow the mining sector for the development of Africa in view of the Africa Continental Free Trade area. Forget about number 7 down to number 12, which I can actually delete. It's irrelevant for this particular work, but I'll be looking at what AFC-FTA, the Sierra Leone Minerals Potential Legislative Framework, organizational setup, and promoting gender parity. Quickly, I mean, this is just, I believe we're all familiar with the African Continental Free Trade area. This is just to remind us of what it is and how it fits into the policy and legal and regulatory reforms that we are doing here in Sierra Leone. Adopted in 2012, in January 2012 by African Assembly of African Heads of State in Rwanda. And its purpose is to boost African trade and promote socio-economic growth. The aim is to accelerate intra-African trade and boost Africa's trading position. You would see that I highlighted common voice and policy space as very critical. I believe we are all probably familiar with the Africa Mining Vision, which is Africa's blueprint for governance and management of the mining sector. And if you look at the governance and management framework of the governance framework of the Africa Mining Vision, you'd see that critical to that framework is for African countries to be able to harmonize their policies and take common position for the management of the mineral sector. Otherwise, if we've in the past, or we continue to go it alone, we continue to deal with our mineral wealth as sovereign states. But there are tons of challenges that have undermined our capacity to optimize the benefits that we can get from the sector. So it is really time for us to depart from old practices and develop innovative ways of extracting, I don't want to use the word exploiting, extracting our mineral wealth for the benefit of our individual countries, but also for the benefit and industrialization of our continent. I have seen our practices for mineral extraction has been characterized by export of raw minerals. We do not do downward processing. We do not allow our mineral wealth to spur growth in our sector or to spur industrialization. We feed Western markets, and then we purchase finished goods manufactured with our raw materials at higher price. And there is trade imbalance here as a result of that. So these frameworks are developed for the continent to be able to optimize the benefits that we can get from the minerals sector. We have all these objectives of the African Continental Free Trade area, but I highlighted specifically object 5, which is critical for our discussions today. That is the ACFTA should promote and attain sustainable and inclusive socioeconomic development, gender equality, and structural transformation of the state parties. State parties basically are the member states of the African Union. Now, I am particularly focusing on this objective because of its relevance to creating gender equality and inclusion in the management, governance and management of the sector, as well as in production and downstream linkages and diversification of the mining sector. And it's critical to ensuring that we're able to use our mineral wealth, not only for this generation, but for generations coming after us. Clearly, the mining sector has been dominated by men for such a long time that it is high time that we started to bring down the barriers that exist or that stand in the way of women participating as co-equals, participating as partners in the sector, creating the necessary conditions within which that will support women that have been left behind in ways that they would be able to compete with us. So this framework provides that opportunity for African states to be able to work together in harnessing their mineral wealth. Quickly, I will go to the second slide, and the reason for going to the second slide is to discuss, look at some of the potentials, and then narrow that down to where at this stage we see opportunities, or where there have been opportunities and for women, and how we can build on those opportunities for future growth. I mean, this is also for knowledge sharing, that in Sierra Leone, for example, we have all of these different minerals, but you see the ones circled in red are critical for women's participation in the mining sector. At the moment, in many cases, women are directly involved as artisanal miners in the gold sector, in the diamond sector, and in the columbite tantalite, which is called coltan sector. And they are largely part of the artisanal mining population. These minerals, gold, diamond, and coltan, have alluvial deposits of them in the country, almost all over the country. Platinum, rutile, bauxite, chroma iron ore, these are all bulk minerals that we do not have artisanal miners involved in them. These are mineral potentials. We do not have 100% certainty that these ones represent the full mineral potential of the country. Recently, we've conducted a airborne geophysical survey of our country, and we've processed the results. They are very encouraging about mineral deposits around the country, and we are now moving into the next stage of geochemical mapping. Once we are done with our geodata acquisition, then it will give us a fair sense of the type of minerals that exist, and that will then be able to review our mining strategy and see which areas we can extract from right now and which ones probably would put a moratorium on. I'll quickly shift to the legislative framework. So we have, for example, our current mining law is the Mines and Minerals Act, which was enacted in 2009. Then we have the National Mineral Agency Act enacted in 2012. This act established the regulator for the mining sector. They are responsible for licensing, operational matters of the sector, whilst the Ministry of Mines deals with policy formulation, for policy, legal, and regulatory formation and providing oversight of the regulator of the sector. Then you have the Mines and Minerals Operational Regulations, 2013, that operationalizes the Mines and Minerals Act. In 2018, we were able to formulate and adopt, cabinet adopted the Sierra Leone Minerals Policy, the Artisanal Mining Policy, and the Geodata Management policies. So all of these now policies create the framework within which we are doing our reviews. The law that I mentioned, the Mines and Minerals Act, the National Minerals Agency Act and Regulations, were adopted without comprehensive policy. So they lack critical issues such as gender. Gender is not captured actually in our current law, which is why we were able to review our law and say, and see how we can address the gender question. Then we have the Africa Mining Vision. So our reforms are guided by the principles of the African Mining Vision and it's the African Minerals Governance Framework. How do we, as signatories to the MV, would operationalize the mining sector? So in May 2019, government launched these policies, and we are currently reviewing our Mines and Minerals Act and the National Minerals Agency Act. We now have a bill which we are reviewing for final drafting. And as soon as we are done and the Parliament passes the laws, we are going to have our regulations. We have other outstanding bills which we will review. Now, the organizational and institutional setup. Critical for our conversation would be two major points that govern the sector. If you, in the clip, Mr. Abu Brahima, who is a civil society activist and have been in the sector for over 25 years, spoke about the lack of women on critical decision-making structures. For example, the Minerals Advisory Board has 14 members and there is no female, 0 female. The interesting thing about this is about 9 or 10 of these members are statutorily appointed. Now, we had a situation where we had a female attorney general who was to appoint a representative on the Minerals Advisory Board. And meanwhile, the Minerals Advisory Board makes recommendations to the minister with regards award of mineral rights, that is license, as well as cancellation, transfer, and suspension of mineral rights. So it's really, and it also has some policy formulation functions under the current law. But then a female former attorney general appointed a male representative to the Minerals Advisory Board, even when the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Mines, in inviting them to send their representatives, did mention that please give consideration to nominating women from your institutions. We still got a male lawyer from the Attorney General's office. That speaks a volume up to that point. The National Minerals Agency Board supervises the National Minerals Agency, which is the regulator. There is no female on that board also. So these are two critical organizational structures that do not have women. So what have we done to close that gap or address that problem? I told you, I just talked about the adoption of the Mines and Minerals Act. So the current status in this act when we're drafting it in 2018 was that gender issues specifically related to mining and mineral development are ignored. They're ignored in our current mining regimes. Differences in gender roles and structural impediments at local levels where men and women have traditional roles continue to challenge and frustrate national gender equality interventions. So though we have different gender mainstreaming programs, different interventions have occurred over the years, but these efforts have been frustrated by our enduring traditional or customary practices. So what this policy does is to develop and implement strategies and take actions with respect to fair treatment of men and women and enhance gender equality and pay structures, whether for formal or informal mining ventures. Enhance equal opportunities for mine-related employment for men and women. Remove gender discriminatory health insurance. This is very critical for us because we have mining companies operating in this country that they are required by law to have health and health insurance policies. But in many cases, conditions that are unique to women are excluded from health insurance schemes. For example, in their recruitment manual or their human resource manual, in many mining companies, it is stated that the gynecological conditions are excluded from health policy. And we all know that only women would have gynecological conditions. Men will definitely not have gynecological conditions. So those policies are developed specifically to exclude women from benefiting fully from medical insurance, just as their male counterparts. Reform customary practices that discriminate against women, particularly with regards to access to land ownership and access to finance. Also, to provide incentives for women in science, technology, engineering, and maths, both in the senior secondary school, tertiary education, or vocational or polytechnics. The Mines and Minerals Act. We are currently reviewing our Mines and Minerals Act, and for the very first time, we have introduced specific provision to address the gender issues that are identified in the the minerals policy. So with regards the critical institutions, for example, the Minerals Advisory Board, there are, again, 2 presidential appointees are proposed, and it is stated in law that at least one of whom must be a female. So there wouldn't be, once this bill is passed, there wouldn't be any situation where you would have the Minerals Advisory Board without a female at the table. And also in the law, it is because in practice, there have been administrative action letters to heads of government agencies and ministries who are supposed to be represented on the board to consider women. But now it is in the law that appointments by delegated authority must give gender equality strong considerations. And when we will be developing our operational regulations, it will be stated that the chairman of the board would have the right to request the withdrawal of certain representatives, and for those withdrawn representatives to be replaced by women appointees from their institutions, just to make sure that we have women at the table. And I must just mention that we are also in the process of adopting the Gender Equality and Empowerment Bill, which, if passed, would make it mandatory for all boards, all appointed positions, all public offices, major decision-making structures to have no less than 30% or a minimum of 30% female representation. So we are very mindful of that, which is why we inserted this clause in the bill. Now, there is also introduced in the bill a new provision for the protection of women and children. For example, mining companies operating on mineral rights holders are requested to develop policies and strategies, action plans that would prohibit gender-based violence by their employees, agents, contractors of mineral rights holders. So mining companies will be under obligation to ensure that their employees, their agents, or their contractors do not get involved in any form of gender-based violence, and their HR policies are revised accordingly. Provision of comprehensive health insurance for women. So to avoid conditions that are unique to women. The third point would be protection of women and girls from sexual exploitation, including early marriage, early marriage or forced marriage by employees, agents, contractors, or mineral rights holders, and access to finance and cooperative formation. Now, access to finance and cooperative formation fits into our artisanal mining formalization strategy, where there would be support from government to cooperatives that are entirely women, and for them to be able to participate in the mining sector, support them if they want to go into small scale mining, to be able to support them, but in an organized form. How are we linking our current reforms to the African continental free trade area? For us, the key for the purpose of this conversation would be Objective 5, which I had earlier discussed. Promote and attain sustainable and inclusive socioeconomic development, gender equality, and structural transformation. So in all of our policy, legal, and regulatory reviews that we are doing going forward, it is based on the achievement or influenced by the achievement of this particular objective. And this objective, of course, sits well with the ECOWAS Model Mining and Minerals Development Act that ensures that countries, member states of West Africa, of ECOWAS, should be able to domesticate the EMMDA in ways that ensure that we have inclusive policies across our natural borders. Thank you very much for your attention. And then if you have any questions for me, we can discuss. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Barrister Daniel. We are extremely very grateful to you. Knowing your schedule, knowing what it took you to come here, first of all, let me extend our sympathy from women in mining Nigeria to you over the loss of your relation. And then despite the tight schedule that you still found time to come, we are indeed very grateful. I'm excited, but I think the PM Women in Mining Nigeria, we comment on your presentation, knowing that West Africa, we started with power outage, and you said the story, and it's the same all over. We are lucky some of them are even still online. It's only in Nigeria that you switch on your data on and off, because you don't want it to be reading, because you are being exploited. So I'm sure he'll be able to take you on, and then if people have questions, they'll be able to put, in the chat room so that we discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, for that wonderful presentation. It's very obvious that Nigeria and Sierra Leone has cross-cutting issues in the mining sector. So the issues are almost the same when it comes to policies and the gender-blind nature of most of our policies, and even the practice. From the video that came up before your presentation, actually showed a lot of similarities with issues in Nigeria, and I'm sure most African countries also are experiencing the same. However, it's not to say that there are no hope. We have a lot of hope because of people like you that have been engaging in the sector, and every other strategic partner on this training this afternoon. Want to thank you for that wonderful presentation, and to say that starting from the African mining vision down to laws and policies in Nigeria, it would be a very good opportunity to commence review and start to capture most of the gender blind issues, issues that have not considered gender in the policies and in the laws and even policy framework generally. So at this point, I want to say a very big thank you for that wonderful presentation, and then to open the floor for anybody that has a comment, first of all, before I read some of the questions in the chat box. Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. So I'll just look out for anybody that raised his or her hands.
While we are looking at the comments, I'll just engage our audience to understand on ESG. ESG, I just quickly want to visit some take homes, which I believe some, because I saw Bode Fakunle, who runs a company. And I know that Dr. Lamy is equally on one of our platforms, where we're talking about mining fund. Nigerians, the ASM sector are eagerly waiting, thinking they will ever get the fund. Mining is capital intensive. Government is never going to have enough money to fund you because they don't even have enough money to meet the infrastructure. So what is it every mining company should be doing right now? Every mining company should be aware that for you to get funding, there are certain criteria you have to meet. And it's called, the target is for you to have a good ESG rating. Women in mining has been training itself very hard, and we hope to secure the license in the next couple of weeks to start to commence on ESG ratings. So that's because there are specialized companies that can do that. But what does it entail? ESG ratings have 3 pillars, and the 3 pillars are what I told you earlier: environmental, social, and governance. In environmental, you want to look at and document what your actions are on climate change, what your greenhouse gas emissions are, what your water usage are, and then the social, you want to look at your labor standards. You want to look at your inclusion, and that's where we come in, gender diversity. You understand? How do you include women? How do you go into diversification? You want to look at the health and safety performance, which Judith spoke extensively on. You want to look at the way the company treats clients. What are your procurement policies? Are women involved? You want to have your human rights record. It's a pity we don't want to show Sierra Leone again, but I'm happy Sierra Leone government took it up themselves. Come and see how miners are being ill-treated, because Chinese are working on ground. You understand? Then for government, you want to look at the anti-corruption measures. You want to look at tax transparency, and you want to look at how decisions are even made, and several other issues like that. You understand? That anti-smuggling policies. And you find out that ESG now, if you don't have your ESG, nobody will fund you. You have specialized organizations that now rate all these things you do. So they rate it, and that rating is what will give you even carbon credits. You understand? You need carbon credits to say, oh no, you're not polluting the atmosphere. Because ESG simply means, how is your organization, in your searching for money, how are you kind to humanity? Are you destroying humanity to make money, or you are kind to humanity? That is just your scorecard. And so once you are rated, investors will move away from you or get attracted to you. So as you leave this webinar today, if you're a consultant or you are working, you understand, or advising any company who has the potential to go big. I'm not talking of people who are scrapped. Most women are mineral traders. I'm a mineral trader. I'm not a miner. And I don't want to be, because I know I don't have the capacity to be. But for those people who are into mining, there's a lot of responsibilities on their shoulder, and they just have to get it right from the beginning. Waiting for government to say, government will do this, where will the government get the money? So you have to start building it small and building it layer by layer for you to get there. So once again, we want to say thank you. We will take your questions, and we will always be here. Next month again, faithfully, we'll be here for another topic. So, Mr. Omojo, over to the questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. There are no particular question on the chat box, but comment I'll just read through. Lami Salau said this is a well articulated gender bill. And then Omoge said, in fact, a rich presentation and well articulated too. Saadatu Hadi said, please, we need a slate of this presentation. Everyone will get it. You'll get all the presentation after now. Lami Salau said, and she'll be adopted right away as part of the gender bill. That's her view. She also said the Chinese are all over. The Nigeria situation may even be worse, but let's defend ourselves. So those are comments from participants in this presentation.
Maybe
if you have any
comments we didn't notice that I thought somebody will bring us is that when you look at the bill, when you look at as a lawmaker, as a former lawmaker, the first question that always comes is that what is the spirit behind the bill? The spirit behind the bill, why I got attracted to Barrister Daniel the first time we had a meeting in one of the Zoom meetings like this that I met, while engaging women in mining in other countries, was that you could see the will, you could see the willingness, you understand? That is what we lack in Nigerian space. In Nigerian space, we are yet to find anybody, be it, and you see when you talk about gender is not necessarily woman. Today, the thing is tilting, you understand, towards women. Women are the deprived one. The men are doing well. But some few years time in some sectors, you could find that men are the deprived ones. So, but you'll find out that Mr. and Daniel, if I have the power or the authority, honestly, I will decorate you, and because you could see the passion in that meeting. And it was that passion that was so infectious that you are lucky in Sierra Leone, you have a man, you understand, who is crafting a bill and committed. That commitment we then the second thing I want you to take note in this discussion was that he gave an illustration, and he was bold to state, even in their own territory, that women were in position. They were asked to nominate. They nominated men. They could not find their fellow women to nominate. This is a major problem. And I think we should start asking ourselves, even on this platform, we've created a body to train. Women, we always shun programs that are brought by women, but you see them scrambling and running after things that are even of less beneficial, where the window is so tiny for them to squeeze in. So we want to thank you, because we should go off from this platform today and let it be our mantra. When you are not passionate about gender, the next generation cannot succeed. You cannot transfer the baton, and then you have succeeded in stagnating your own daughters. Some people fought for you to get to this level. And so we want to commend you, because when you look at the inclusion, we are not the same. Go and look at their inclusion. Go and look at what they brought in. I've seen their draft. Go and look at their draft. And Dr. Lami, we agree with me. And I don't know, maybe Buki is here. When we went for our own draft review, I have to literally be crawling, you understand, around the men. And that's why that they did not even accommodate our draft. So it's a major problem that has to be addressed. And we have to look for more lobbyists among women to speak up, to stand up and speak for us to get to where we need to get to. We are not doing enough. The next generation, the next girls in the classroom, you understand, by the time they are graduating, must have a place. The next boys coming must have a place. So our agenda is not to knock down our boys. In fact, this training, I ask the boys, come out, come and learn, come and see what it will take. And then the third comment is sustainability. Some of you studied geology. Some of you studied mining. You must start looking at it. How do I diversify? How do I make a career out of it? A new career that is out is be a sustainability consultant, be a sustainability expert. A sustainability expert requires a whole lot of training where you sit down and work with AI, you understand, and be able to come up with softwares, you understand, that can accommodate all these things we are saying. So that's where we are growing. That's where we are preparing ourselves, because all the things we are doing for today is not necessarily about today. When you look at that chart behind Omojo, it spreads it out. You are talking of capacity development, which is a key, which is a foundation for the inflow will come with stabilization. We are building up, mining is going to take place. And by the time the junior miners are coming in, by the time the majors are coming in, that is when you will know that you have been sufficiently prepared, you understand, to be able to take them hands down, to be able to say, oh, this is the role I want to fit in. So once again, we encourage you to attend, we encourage you to come, and we seize the opportunity today to thank Barrister Daniel Bondo from Sierra Leone and my sister Judith. I wish you a great success in your new appointment again. You understand? In Tanzania, Judith, you understand, who came all the way, to share an aspect of smart innovations in mining. You understand with us? We have a whole lot of software in processing. Every aspect of mining now has new innovations, even equipment. You understand? Even the mines itself, mines operations, if you get to Sima mines in Mali, it's completely automated. It's like you are sitting on an air-conditioned room and you are mining gold. So we can go on and on. We wish you all the best. We want to say thank you. We appreciate our regular audience who are always here, our consultants, our father, my mentor, Professor Bidiako. I can say, I know you are there, you understand. So, and we are grateful to every one of you. Dr. Lamy, Mrs. Moge, you understand, who are always hungry for knowledge. We appreciate all of you. Dolapo from Lagos, Wim Lagos, all of you, we appreciate you. Keep coming and keep learning, such that at the end of it all, you have been well equipped, you understand, when these people are here. And look back to make sure as women, you pass the baton to someone to help someone. Once again, we say thank you. From Women in Mining, we want to say thank you to all of you. And we say thank you, PM, for doing a wonderful job with your team. The director of WIMSI, we want to say thank you, Doris, and your team for an excellent job being done. Not minding the initial hitch, you understand? We don't control the bandwidths. We don't have authority over it. So we only take what we have. So please just pardon us, keep on coming, and it will get better. We all pray for a better Africa. We now know it's not only Nigeria, a better Africa in God's name. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that comment. Taliat Olatunde said, a great point, Ma. Passion is what drives. We all know the system is not encouraging, but when the passion is there, we can conquer all negativities. Lami Salau said, we are now ready and we shall be committed to the implementation of the bill. Barrister Daniel said, you are the greatest man for your contributions. Thank you very much for all your comments and contributions. And I don't know if someone has any comment to say or any contribution before we shut down for today. Okay, no hand is up, no comment in the chat box. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I just want to lend my voice to that of the President, Honorable Engineer Janet Adeyemi, for her wonderful support to ensuring that we have a more sustainable mining sector in Africa and even in the world at large. She's a global figure in the mining sector, a warhorse in the mining sector. And we believe, following the vision and the passion that she has in the mining sector, especially for the female gender, we can achieve that goal that we are all set to achieve. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much one more time, and see you same time, same period, same station next month as you continue to join our Women in Mining Training Institute classes. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all your hard work and your effort. Brilliant presentations. God bless you. We look forward to a more sustainable mining sector, not but all over Africa.
Can we put on our cameras to have a photo for those of us who are still online? Can we put on our cameras? Can you please take the picture? PM, can you take the picture? Please put on your video if you are on, so that we quite a number of people have followed. But Daniel, can we take a picture with you? It will be a privilege. Professor Ako, good morning, sir.
Prof is around. Prof, good evening, sir. Good to see you.
Our grandfather, because if you are my father in geology, and I have children now, so our grandfather, we want to say, how are you, sir?
Thank you very much.
And please accept our sympathy over the death of Professor Ujo, another geophysicist here.
Thank you.
So put on your camera and let's take the picture. So Omojo, can you take us?
Yeah, I've done that.
I think quite a number of people.
Oh, this is Hajia Lami.
So can you take the picture?
I have done that.
Okulajado, Oludolapo. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. God bless you all. See you next month. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
Judith, I'm grateful. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Taliat, for your job well done. Bring the students. Yeah. Let them come.